Coming up on Hot Hardware, we're talking about the Intel Developers Forum, NVIDIA's Tegra 2 tablet, and viewer questions, plus some more stuff. Welcome to Hot Hardware, where we talk about the hottest technology out there in the world. First up, the Intel Developers Forum. Now, they talked about a lot of things. They had a keynote, there's something called Sandy Bridges, which I can only assume is a porn star, and their partner showed off a whole bunch of stuff. Marco, could you tell us absolutely everything that happened at IDF?
Hey, this is a family show.
I can't tell you absolutely everything because we only have a few minutes, but there was a ton of stuff to see. Sandy Bridge, what you just mentioned, was Intel's new CPU architecture coming for mainstream desktops and notebooks. It features integrated graphics, basically a totally redesigned core, new turbo modes, extra performance, you name it, it's coming.
So was there any exciting things from partners? I noticed that Hot Hardware had a lot of things from the different partners that showed up at IDF.
Yeah, actually the keynotes on day two centered around Atom and the whole ecosystem around Atom. We saw a ton of really cool tablets, stuff from Cisco, the WePad. There was a new Dell kind of convertible tablet. You can hold it, looks just like a tablet, flips open, and the screen flips around, so you can also use it like a netbook. There's a keyboard underneath as well. And during the partner showcase, there was a bunch of cool stuff. We saw a new OCZ Revo Drive X2, which offers, over 700 meg per second reads and writes. We saw some 25 nanometer Intel NAND, new Gigabyte motherboards, whole bunch of stuff, and we covered it all on the site. There's plenty of articles up there.
Could you talk a little bit about I think Intel's got a program called AppUp. Could you explain what that is?
Sure. Well, it's sort of like the App Store, the Apple App Store for netbooks. Users can download this little app onto their netbook. It'll work basically on any Windows machine, but the apps are kind of smaller apps for, for MeeGo or for Windows. And you can, just download them right all from the single AppUp interface. And
one last question about IDF. What's the most exciting development out of IDF?
For me, it's got to be Sandy Bridge. You're going to see a big boost in performance in mainstream desktops and notebooks, not only because the CPU cores are faster, but it's got Intel's best integrated video to date. And I know integrated video is kind of, taboo with enthusiasts, but you're looking at an order of magnitude improvement in graphics performance from an Intel IGP, plus media transcode acceleration. So there's lots of good stuff coming with Sandy Bridge.
When are we going to see Sandy Bridge in actual computers?
Well, we'll probably have it tested on the site, towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, and it'll hit the market running right after that.
Very cool. Now, Dave, last week you teased about an NVIDIA tablet, actually not NVIDIA tablet, a tablet that was running the NVIDIA Tegra 2. Now,
yes.
This week over at Hot Hardware, I saw a video of such a device. It was the ViewSonic G tablet. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the first Tegra 2 tablets that I had some hands-on time with. We saw it down at the Holiday Spectacular put together by Pepcom down in New York this week. And we sort of gave NVIDIA a little bit of a hard time earlier on this year because they had previewed Tegra 2 in January at CES 2010, and just now tablets are finally coming to fruition. But this was a tablet from ViewSonic, folks that you're probably very familiar with from a panel standpoint, LCDs and what have you. And it looked pretty sharp. It was a Android 2.2 Froyo operating system that was running on it, 1 gigahertz Tegra 2 processor, and let's see what else we can tell you about it. It had Wi-Fi, did not have a 3G cellular carrier, although it did have a SIM card slot, so capability in the future, but not currently did they have a carrier to announce with it. But it was, showing some 1080p high-definition video at full frame rate, looking pretty sharp. And they actually did a little bit of gaming on it with this football game application called Backbreaker, which looked pretty good from a graphical standpoint. Pretty hot-looking tablet.
Now, how was the actual display? ViewSonic, I remember the fellow in the demo was saying that they're a display company. But as I was watching the video, I noticed that it became very hard to view at certain angles, which I thought was a little strange. How did it look in person?
It looked good in person. I think what you were seeing was, certainly some of the lighting in the place, glaring off this glossy panel. I can tell you, it's certainly got a ton of gloss. It's not going to be great in daylight situations by any stretch, but it looks like everybody's trying to, knock off the gloss and flare that the iPad gave, and not quite that kind of quality. But if anybody can improve, on panel, whether it be viewing angle or brightness, contrast, saturation, all that good stuff, somebody like ViewSonic certainly could.
Do you have price and availability information?
I believe it was $529, and the gentleman told us end of October, early November. So what's happening now is we're seeing all of these new tablets that have kind of been waiting in the wings with other processors, whether they be Intel Atom or in this case NVIDIA Tegra 2, which is looking pretty good now finally. They're all going to be coming out for the holiday buying shopping season, and iPad's going to have a little bit of competition, which is nice.
Now, HotHardware checks out lots of graphics cards. This week, you guys checked out the NVIDIA GTS 450. I think it's at a very affordable price, somewhere around 120 bucks. What did you guys think?
I actually really liked it. So NVIDIA launched their Fermi architecture, the GeForce 100, in the GTX 480 a few months back. And they've been steadily releasing new cards based on either iterations of that first chip or new chips. The GTS 450 is a new chip, nice low power, entry level, mainstream to entry level DX11. 129 bucks for the card. Actually, I have one right here if you want to check it out. There it is. Ooh,
fancy.
Sexy.
Yeah, sexy.
Throughout testing, it was actually pretty nice. It ran alongside the Radeon HD 5770. No trouble with any of the games that we tested or apps. NVIDIA's just released a new set of drivers that boost performance of older cards and add support for this card. Overall, I really liked it.
So who do you think the market is for this? Is it like if I have a giant 30-inch display or I have a matrix of 6 displays, is this my card?
No. This card is for somebody with, say, a 22-inch, maybe a 23-inch monitor, 1680 by 1050 res or below. You're not going to get super high frame rates at very high resolutions, but at those kind of mainstream resolutions, you'll be able to play any game out there now, stuff that's upcoming, full DX11 support, with good image quality and smooth frame rates. And for 129 bucks, I kind of think that's the sweet spot for me. If I was telling somebody to buy a system, it would be a card like this, maybe a little faster, because you can basically run everything. You get all of those benefits of having a more powerful GPU. It's kind of the way to go in that price range.
Now, over at PepCom, I know, Dave, you saw a whole bunch of stuff from Asus. They showed off a laptop that had some weird speakers on the side of the actual monitor. They had a Lamborghini branded device. What did you see? What stood out?
Yeah, certainly Asus has been really striking that flare angle with their products these days. And the device you mentioned, the laptop you mentioned, is the NX90JQ. And that looks like something, if you've ever if you're into audio equipment, Bang & Olufsen makes a line of high-end audio equipment that has some design cues that looks like Asus pulled from. And it actually has Bang & Olufsen speakers in it, which is the speakers you're noting. But yeah, this is a big monster 18-inch notebook with 1.25 terabytes of storage on board and a Core i7. It's a desktop replacement machine. You're not going to go trekking through airports with this thing, but it's beautiful.
So what about this Lamborghini branded one? Is there anything that's particularly interesting about it? I mean, other than, I guess, that badge with the horse on it?
Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, Marco loves these kind of machines. This is a 12-inch, ultra thin and light netbook, really. It's got a dual-core Atom D525 processor, NVIDIA Ion graphics with Optimus dynamic switching, which is kind of nice, too. So you've got a little bit of extra multimedia muscle. But it is a beautiful looking machine. It's actually designed in concert with some of the folks from Lamborghini. They sort of help Asus designers inspire the design. And yeah, it's a beautiful. I think it's less than 3 pounds, and nice, well balanced netbook that just looks sharp as a tack.
Any other interesting technologies like WhyCast?
WhyCast, yeah, you're like my straight man today, dude. WhyCast was great, and they had it running. They actually had a external Blu-ray drive plugged into a notebook, and then over WhyCast or ultra wideband HDMI technology, they broadcasted that to a 24-inch panel that was right next door. And what it is it's a wireless transmitter for video and audio, HDMI spec video and audio. And it allows for, full high definition 1080p streaming, less than 1 millisecond response time or delay, so lag, so no noticeable lag whatsoever. I mean, less than 1 millisecond, much faster than any monitor you have out there these days. So it's pretty impressive. And, gaming, high-def video, pretty much anything you can do on your notebook can now be projected wirelessly on the big screen on your TV.
Now this WhyCast, it's using industry standards, or is it actually using their own proprietary system?
It's an industry standard, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
ultra-wideband HDMI, I think, is the spec. I don't quite have it in front of me, but yeah, it's an industry standard chipset that they used, and it's competitive to like Intel's WiDi technology. Intel has their own technology. The only drawback with this implementation, and it's a question of whether or not this chipset and the technology will take off integrated, is that you've got a little box that sits external with the HDMI cable, and the Intel technology is built into the laptop, at least on the transmitter side. So all you need is the receiver at the TV end with the HDMI cable sticking out of that. But with this, you've got an HDMI cable sticking out. You got to have HDMI sticking out of your laptop anyways, or a port. And then, you plug into the transmitter box that sits next to it. So a little less convenient, a little more clunky, but also, Intel's technology can only go up to 720p currently, although we hear they're working on that. And, this does full 1080p at less than a millisecond lag. It's pretty good.
Well, if you got to connect to a box, you might as well be connecting to the TV directly. This is silly. Absolutely silly.
Well, you can still sit across the room, dude. It's wireless.
You're an apologist. You're such an apologist. We're going to do something. We're going to do something
I
different.
love tech. That's
We've
all.
got some viewer questions and reader questions. The first question up is from Marco. Now it's from A-Carts. Sorry if I hacked
You
that.
can butcher them. They don't mind.
All right, sorry guys. Are you guys eventually going to hold a contest to give away one of those sweet new IBM supercomputers? By the way, IBM has the world's fastest processor at 5.2 gigahertz. Marco, you giving it away?
So I have some exciting news for you, buddy. No.
Wow.
That answers that. Any other contests coming up, maybe?
Yes, we're hammering out the details now. We're not quite ready to announce it, but I have a feeling we'll be giving a gaming system away really soon. Let me just leave it at that.
Okay, so that means you guys got to go to HotHardware.com and find out the stuff later on. And a question for Dave. Jay Turnbull asked, how in the world do you monitor everything that goes on in the forums in addition to your other work? And a follow-up, what hours do Marco, Dave, and the whole crew typically work? This is such a hardball question. I don't know. Can you handle this question?
Yeah, it's like tee me up for the long drive here. I tell you, it's a good question, because I think sometimes folks get this impression that we don't sleep and we don't eat, and actually that's accurate. It takes a lot of hours. Monitoring the forum. Hopefully you're kind of set up with good software, and we do have a nice engine in the site that helps us, get through some of these tasks and, monitor things and, edit content and all that good stuff, all the nuts and bolts of the site. If you're backed up with a good engine, good content management system, and a good membership management system, you can do lots of great things efficiently. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to, checking out all this cool technology that we do and, just keeping the lights on, it takes a lot of hours, and but it's kind of like the Peace Corps, as they say. It's the toughest job you'll ever love.
So you're saying
we love it.
For forum management, you've replaced human beings with computers. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Good idea. So are you going to send out robots?
Let me just jump in for a second. We do have an awesome team of moderators in the forum that helps. We got a great crew on the site. Everybody helps each other, and we all basically put in whatever time is necessary to churn out what we think is some pretty good content.
It's pretty darn good, I think.
Marco's a smart guy. Absolutely. The forum community is great. And, I got to say, our editorial team, the folks that, tapping on the news desk every day and writing some of these full-length articles, reviews, they're great to work with, too. We get some, if you get good people around you, you can do great things.
I think we're ready to wrap up. You guys have any last thoughts?
I don't really think.
Yay, it's Friday.
Well, I guess that does it for this episode of Hot Hardware. You can find Hot Hardware at facebook.com/hothardware, dig.com/hothardware, and twitter.com/hothardware. Or you can just go to hothardware.com where we have all the information about all these stories and more. Guys, have a good weekend. I'll see everybody later, and we'll see you next week.